Hello, everybody. My name is Alexandra, and today I wanted to share a little bit of a story of a choreography that I did with my students last year. I've had a good year to reflect on this choreography that I created, that I shared with my students, and a journey that we took together. It was more than just teaching them a choreography, so I definitely wanted to at least capture some of the story on video, capturing the reflection of what I have learned as a teacher so far, as a director of creative environments, as a choreographer, and a dance choreographer working in different medias. I think that in our belly dance community, we have so much talent and so much opportunity to take these mythical stories or enchanting stories that we are inspired by and connect them to our lives, from the mundane to maybe arduous and dramatic stories that are all a part of life. Hopefully, this short video of my reflection of this choreography helps anybody out there. Any creative soul that loves movement, that loves dance, that loves music, and that loves to explore a variety of medias. This is for the dancers who don't identify with just fitting into a box and to one space. This is for the dancers who have so much curiosity about life, who have a drive or some sort of itch to scratch, to explore their lives, their bodies, and the stories that are filtering through their spirits. So, last year, 2025, was my 20-year anniversary in belly dance. I started dancing in 2005 with my sister, and I fell in love with it. And it has taken me this far into the professional career. And I wanted to celebrate that. So I said to myself that if I'm going to celebrate 20 years in belly dance, I want to do it with my students because that's kind of my nature. I like to work with groups. I like to bring them into the creative process and then themselves become creative, and they begin to, at least in my experience, they begin to work out their own ideas, and then their fire, their spark gets ignited. That to me is just so beautiful. So a little bit of my reflection about that is the story that I chose was a story that I didn't just come up with. So this is where the journey begins. The story that I chose wasn't something that I immediately knew. This was an inspiration from my partner, and he wanted to choose some sort of mythical story for a previous belly dance stories theater show. And what he chose was the death and rebirth of the goddess Inanna, the Sumerian goddess Inanna. And he had a beautiful idea about dancing with 7 veils and the story of Inanna taking off all of her earthly possessions as she entered the underworld. And there were several steps that she had to take. It was a whole process to basically die and be reborn into her new self. So I said, could I use this for my 20-year anniversary? And of course, I mean, he loves me. But I was very much inspired by that one. And we worked on this together. And this is part 1 This is one of the main things that I have learned of that process was when you collaborate with others, other creative minds that are experiencing different things in the world, you're gonna get a lot more out of the performance and the process than you expect. So always keep that open heart for when you are working with other people, or if you get inspired by somebody else's story or a conversation that you might have had with somebody else, because that makes a big difference. So in my experience, I know that creativity comes from a conversation with the world, whether with a person, whether with a video, with movement, with anything, with music. We have our own ways of viewing life, but we keep recycling, and we recycle things in new ways. And I think that's beautiful. I don't know if there is even a real thing about, I think that's very rare to have original stories. But I know that I have seen many original takes on ancient stories, on older stories, on things that have already been told, but just original takes. So, fast forward, we start creating this idea, and then I go into the process of choreography and asking my ladies who are interested in taking on this interesting journey of learning a choreography and creating video art out of it. So that's something that I have not done as much as I want to, but it's in the books, it's in the notes, and I'm very excited for future projects with my students. But their trust is beautiful, and I want to now go into 2 mini interviews of the students, of the ladies that worked with me, and I want to show you what they said about their experience. I have them here on my laptop, and I'm actually gonna look at these interviews with fresh ears and eyes. The first one that I have is Elvia, and here are some of the questions that I ask her. The first one is, how did you feel to be a part of this creative project?
Wonderful. It was a wonderful experience. I feel more empowered. I feel like a true goddess. And again, like I said before, I'm happy to be part of your team again. And it was a beautiful experience. That's the only way I can describe it.
My second question is one of my favorites. What would you say to someone who's afraid to express themselves and get creative?
I would say that I was you. I was you many moons ago, many years ago. And the reason I joined a belly dancing class was to build my self-confidence and my inner womanhood, and it's been a wonderful ride. Like, my confidence is sky high. Meeting different women in different walks of life has it's been a great experience as well. And I've loved every part of this journey. I've discovered myself in ways that I haven't thought before. And I've loved myself in so many ways I never thought before. Like, it's a self-love that you can't explain with this type of art.
Oh my God, blown away. Elvia really is. She's so good at framing with words how she feels. And I admire people like that. That is a skill. The next question was, how did working with a group help her build the confidence that she was talking about and her creativity?
It's empowering because we empower each other. The women I've met in this journey, they empowered me. When I had self-doubt, they shook it out of me. They reminded me of the person who I am and the woman that we are, the power that we have, the beauty that we have, the elegance that we have. And that's why I love this choreography that we did, this dance we did. It embodies that, what a woman can go through in her depths and what she can go through in the other light, on the other end of the tunnel, all the women that I've met, it's just been, they're superheroes in disguise. They're no, excuse me, they're goddesses in disguise. So, yeah.
You're welcome.
Oh my God, that was so good. Okay, this was taken, by the way, after we filmed at HCAP Studios, after the filming day. And the next one that I want to go into is Tabitha, which is also another woman who knows how to frame her emotions really well, and her experiences. And yeah, okay. So the question that I asked Tabitha is also one of my favorites. And ask yourself this question too. And I ask myself that question often. It is, why is it important for women to give themselves permission to be creative and to take up space in their creativity?
Because it's that moment they're taking to find more out about themselves. And the permission is so that we can also forgive ourselves, whatever might happen. Sometimes we'll start something out in that creative process and we might not be comfortable with it, but it's part of working through that uncomfortability, like learning what we like about ourselves, about our lives. And it's just like learning who you are. That's it.
I love that. So that was amazing. I love it. I love it. Ah, my heart is so full. Okay, the next question I had asked Tabitha has to do with her doing a solo and also a duet for this choreography. Tabitha is a student that has been with me for a long time. I admire her curiosity very much, and I also really admire the way that she learns and processes the new things that she experiences. She takes with other teachers. She continues to learn about the dance. She herself is an educator, so I think that helps with the open mindset. And when somebody is in that mindset of understanding the world through learning and then through teaching, this reciprocal experience and language and dialogue that they have with the world, that's a type of person to really admire and to also support. So I gave her the solo for the character of Ereshkigal, which is the sister of Inanna. And if you're familiar with the story or the many versions of the myth of Inanna's transformation, Ereshkigal she is the caretaker of the underworld, and she's the one that gets annoyed at Inanna for coming into her territory. As some myths say that Inanna was coming to take over her territory, some myths say that Inanna was just coming to the funeral of Ereshkigal's husband. Other more psychoanalytical explanations say that Ereshkigal is the shadow side of Inanna, and that archetype of the goddess, the light and the dark, where Ereshkigal, there's so many interpretations that I would just definitely search for them. But anywho's, back to Tabitha, because I gave her those two roles of the solo and the duet with Inanna. And I asked her, the question was, what does she have to say about the experience that she took with this character?
Actually, I think it's kind of funny that I was chosen for that, because I feel that is something I actually do on a daily basis. As a teacher, I make my students kind of reevaluate what they really understand. And sometimes it means breaking them down first, because they have high opinions of where they are. It's like, yeah, but we could always do more. And they don't, as young people, they don't think that there's anything more they could do. They think they're already giving their most and their best. And so I do that, like I said, on an everyday basis with my students. And then not only that, but with people in my life, I question them. I get them to really think about why they are doing certain things in their life, especially when they come, everybody vents and they have complaints. And we are always listeners, We shouldn't always give advice, but sometimes when you want to steer somebody a certain way or get them to see something in a different way, just asking those questions makes them like look to themselves and what is it that I'm doing. And I feel like her character is the same, that she has sort of forced Inanna to look within herself and find her own power, breaking down to build back up, breaking down what you currently think you are to build yourself back up into what you really are, have potential to be. And I really kind of enjoyed that I was given this moment to do that part. So thank you.
I love that she spoke about her life and her experiences that really informed that character play. And, you know, sometimes because this video is very short, we don't see the behind the scenes very often. So what I'm filming for us is almost like a journal entry that we can look back on, and also we, meaning the students and myself, look back on and remember these things and see these things again, because they will pop up in our lives. These are universal lessons to learn. So the next question that I had for Tabitha is, what words of wisdom would she recommend to dancers who are looking to get more creative?
Just do it. It's kind of like Nike, just do it and have fun. Forgive yourself because you're going to make a lot of mistakes. Reflect often. And yeah, but the most thing is just do it and have fun doing it.
Sound words of wisdom. That was really cool. I heard that very clearly in my ears.
That was so perfect. 4 things in essence: just do it, have fun, forgive yourself, and reflect often. This was really beautiful. I'm so glad that this happened last year, and I'm so glad that I was able to look at this again, this project. The post-production part of it was initially going to be a Belly Dance Stories podcast. But you know, life is funny because I really enjoy reflecting with this project a year later on my own and seeing everything with fresh eyes again, because it now will drive me forward into the future with new projects that I have. It's important to not burn out quickly with projects that you get excited about that you haven't done yet. That is one of the biggest lessons that I have learned, to pay attention to myself, to not get too caught up in the emotion of a project, and more like take it step by step and then see where the road takes you. Sometimes that's going to be more productive than trying to really work on something quickly, get it done, and then continue to push it. Because I could have pushed this project more after we had filmed it, but I didn't. The summer got here and we had already had almost a full year of working together, I believe, or actually half a year. To give you a little bit more of a background here, the students and I started in January of 2025 doing the choreography, the movements. We then had 2 theater shows to perform this choreography, and then the third to do the video performance of Inanna. So we got the chance to use that choreography in the medium or the setting, the framing of a theater. And then we were able to use this choreography in the framing of video art and video performance. And then my next part of the process was to do the video editing part of it. Let me recap here the idea. It's important to not rush and really push harder after a project is nearly complete if you feel like you are getting burnt out. Yeah, I hope that I explained myself well, because oh goodness, I don't want to be too heady about this, but I do, from my experience, I'm a very airy kind of fiery, airy, creative person. And if you're like that and you start things off really well, and then you are getting into it, and then you finally start to show it to others. But right after you start to show it to others, you feel this dwindling of fire, this dwindling sensation that, yeah, okay, I'm basically done with this. I kind of don't want to think about it anymore. I'm going to move on to the next thing. If that's you, I've been there so many times. If that's you, pause it, reflect, just like Tabitha says, reflect often, and just do it. Finish it off, close it off. That's one of my biggest lessons, my personal big lessons, is to learn how to completely close. Okay, I hope my video didn't cut off. My God. But basically, let's see. What I was saying is one of my biggest lessons was learning, and is still learning, how to completely close a project. Completely close it. Okay, sometimes projects should not be closed. This one, I didn't close it. A year later, I'm reflecting still. But sometimes it is good for closure. Okay, the last thing that I want to share with you is the story about the video art and how that works. Because if you're curious on how to create video art for your dance stories, then I will give you a little synopsis about that part of the story. Within the world of video, there are such preparations that are a little bit arduous, but if you like them, wonderful. First step is to get your story. You have your story, you have researched your story, and step 2 is to figure out the choreography of that story. Now it's time to go and plan the storyboard. The storyboarding is a big deal because it has to do with the shots, the camera shots, and what exactly you are doing in those camera shots. If you are performing in that video, it's going to be extra work for you because you're going to have to speak and work with the videographer if you are the director, like I was. So the storyboard is a collage, in other words, of the squares that have the images, wide, medium, and close-up shots of each of the scenes, and the description underneath of what's happening in the scene and what are the timestamps of the music, all sorts of really important details. So I have mine open here, which I'm gonna share with you guys, but basically mine is not perfect, by the way, of course. I'm still learning about these things, and that's the fun part, but I'm pretty proud of the storyboard. When I had the meeting with Andres, which my partner, which helped me with the idea and the conception and the collaboration of 7 Gates, 1 Soul, it turned out pretty good because he was able to see the storyboard and get the idea. Along the way, when we get to the actual day of filming, there could have been more time and some tweaks that I feel like I learned from, but this storyboard is pretty cool. So I have the image and the description, the lighting, the camera angle, and the movement of the camera. So there are those at least tidbits there. Since we did already, the girls and I did 2 theater shows before, and they were filmed, the performances, I was able to grab scenes from the theater performances and put them into the storyboard and explain to Andres, okay, in this, in frame 1, scene 2, frame 1, there are wings, and it's a group with the wings, and there's the, I believe there's the duet is happening in the middle, but I want a let me see, track the duet to the next gate, and the lighting should be continuous dark shadows backlit. The camera angle should be a split shot to a wide to a centered, split shot wide centered. I believe that we did that. And then the movement should be more like a handheld camera movement. So we talked about all of that. If you're unfamiliar with the lingo, you can definitely either look that up or message me if you want to learn more. This is not a class, but I do have a little bit of that background that I can offer. And that's something that I am still in student mode almost. I can teach the basics, but I'm still in student mode with the more elaborate, sophisticated language and communication between director and videographer. So hopefully in the future, with the lessons that I learned from the storyboard, I am able to not be a performer in one of these stories and just direct it. It is very challenging to be the dancer, to be the performer, and to be directing, let alone the videographer, but also the group of students and the timeline of the day. So it is a big production, and it could have been more organized. I feel though we did an excellent job with the time given and how I was able to prepare my ladies, because we did have meetings before. I would say if you are working with a group, another lesson to take note of is to definitely prepare the group that you're working with ahead of time with several meetings, several detailed meetings, because they're going to have questions. They're not going to know what's going to be happening if you don't tell them. It's very uncomfortable to go into a production day and not know what's happening and have doubts. Eliminate the doubts with all of these visuals, with the agenda, with the timeline, the time of days, the hour and the day. All right, at 11 o'clock we arrive, at 12 o'clock we're gonna do scene 1, act 1, etc. And preparation is the key. So I believe that concludes my reflection on the 7 Gates, 1 Soul, Inanna's transformation. And I can't believe it's been a year already. And I'm very much looking forward to editing this video for you guys and to see what you all say, or if there's any comments or questions or inspired thoughts out there. So thank you so much for watching, for listening, and I will see you again in the future with either a belly dance video or maybe a production within belly dance stories, or somewhere else. I don't know. Thank you guys.